In today's episode, we have Carrie Lupoli with us, and she's going to talk about the many aspects that go into growing her spectacular nutrition business. You will also get to hear how consistency in your own business will yield the biggest payoff, how to know and value your own self-worth, and why creating multiple revenue streams of income will get you through the hard times of entrepreneurship. And now, on with the show. Welcome to the Online Course Igniter podcast, where you'll hear from successful course creators and how they were able to turn their passion into a thriving online business empire. What's up, everyone? Thanks for coming on the show today. We have a very great guest with us, Carrie Lupoli, who is a certified nutrition coach and life coach and has a business called Disruptive Nutrition. I was checking her stuff out earlier today, and she has just done an amazing job in the health and wellness industries and the nutrition industry. And I think this is going to be a really cool podcast and hear some different aspects of creating an online business and online courses. And I'm just very happy to have you on the show today. How are you doing, Carrie?
I am great. I am so excited to be here. Thank you.
Yeah, definitely. It's super exciting to have you. And as we were talking a little bit earlier, I always enjoy having podcast episodes where we get to hear people in different industries and different niches, because I just feel like it gives people a chance to hear how different course creators and entrepreneurs have gone about their business. And we can always take some really golden nuggets away. And so I'm excited to dive into your story and into some of the content that we have planned out here. So why don't you just take a moment and just give us a little bit of a background about who you are, where you came from, and then how did you get into this role of nutrition and online business?
Awesome. Yeah. So I'm a wife and a mom of two teenage girls and one crazy puppy. But what really is kind of my story is that I was a teacher. I was an educator for more than 20 years. I ended up towards the end of my career traveling all over the country, doing consulting in schools all around America, and traveled a ton, struggled a lot just before I turned 40 with my health, as well as, my mindset. I dieted a ton after I had my daughter, and one is adopted and one is biological. So when I had my biological daughter, I really struggled. I had an eating disorder when I was in college, and I just was a real hot mess when it came to my nutrition and traveling all over the place. I just felt like the less I ate, the better it would be. And I just felt worse and worse. And I remember one day I was looking in the kitchen, the cabinets and the glass in your cabinet, and just looked at myself and just saw a defeated woman, somebody who was really successful in their career, loved what I was doing, but looked at myself and just felt awful. And at that same time, my two girls, who were like 6 and 7 at the time, started talking about the number of calories that they were eating. And I was like, oh my gosh, I think I'm doing to my kids what was done to me around my body image and around food and the relationship that I had with myself. And at the same time, I'm an educator. I'm traveling around the country, actually doing mindset work with educators, and realized that my own mindset was in a really bad place. So I needed to figure it out. And it was my girls that really prompted me. So I joined a gym, which is what I felt like I needed to do. Ate less, joined a gym, and just kept putting my body at a deficit. And things got worse and worse. I felt awful. I was gaining weight and couldn't figure it out. I'm the kind of personality that digs in and doesn't give up until you can find the answers. I knew there had to be a better way. Actually, putting ourselves at a deficit is, I always say, since when does anything flourish at a deficit? And when I started realizing that and seeing what I was doing to my body and my mind and to my kids, I realized I needed to figure it out and did. And when I did and started teaching my friends and family about the fact is that we need food and we need to fuel ourselves and we need to eat correctly and do all of it, I was like, I have to teach this. I'm an educator, and I knew I had to teach this to people. And so really started doing that kind of organically with people that I came across and had this side gig. I became a certified health coach, nutrition coach, and was helping people all over. And as it got more and more successful. I mean, literally everybody was seeing so much more success in not just in their bodies, but in their mindsets. I'm a certified mindset coach. On top of it all, I was like, I got to do something about this. So I knew I needed to put it all together into a place where I wouldn't have to literally just teach it myself all the time. As an educator, I was actually writing online courses for the consulting firm that I was working in. So it was like just things started coming together, and I realized I could do this and I could teach this. So I kind of put together my knowledge of being an educator and an online course and put what I knew into a program that has been changing lives now for years, and left my full-time job and do this and really see the transformation that we have, not just for women, but I keep talking about the generations now of people that we are raising. As parents, we want to make a better life for our kids. And what I realize is so many of us think about it in money. And what I have realized is I want to make a better generation of, in terms of their health and wellness, their bodies and their mindsets. So that's really kind of how I came about doing all of this. It was my own failure and struggles with my own health and wellness, but really seeing how it was impacting my kids.
Nice. That's amazing. I can totally relate. As I have two children of my own. We've struggled the same thing. Trying to go to the gym, trying to do this diet and that diet. And this previous year, my wife started trying to do different diets because my cholesterol, for me was starting to get really high, and she was trying to find ways to reduce that. Because we have heart disease problems in our family and different things. And so she was looking at the Mediterranean diet and this diet, and she came across the idea of just eating more vegetables than your carbs and stuff. And so she had us eating all these vegetables. I said, I was like, you're trying to kill me with vegetables. Stop it. Because I grew up like the children that you're talking about. I grew up on the sodas, and I grew up on the cereal and the fast food. And I remember in middle school and high school going to lunch and having the processed meats and the chips and the Coca-Colas and stuff. And so it was a radical change for us, but the difference was just outstanding. The energy levels increased. The moods of everyone in the house started, looking better. We were happy that our kids were eating healthier. So I feel like what you're teaching is very important. And I know that we're going to talk a lot about some of the online course aspects in this episode, but more importantly, I think is talking about some of this nutritional ideas, because I feel like not enough people know about it or talk about it or trying to change their habits. So let's just take a moment and just talk about that. So what are some of the things that you teach regarding nutrition? What are some of your ideas and philosophies when it comes to that?
I love this. This is what I love talking about, as well as education and online courses. So both of this is right up my alley. So the first thing we do is we don't use the diet word in our home. The D word is what we call it. I don't even care if they curse. They just can't use that word because it insinuates a deficit, insinuates so many different things around our mindsets, and that we have to deprive ourselves in order to be healthy. But also, here's the big thing: we can't feel deprived at the same time, not just in food. I always say so many of us put foods in categories. I know I did, good or bad. And what happens when you eat something quote unquote bad? We feel guilty. We feel like we have to work it off, all of these things. And what I really teach is that food is not good or bad. Food just is. Food is literally proteins, fats, and carbs. Vegetables are carbs, all of it. And we need it all. And there's food that serves our body and there's food that serves our soul. And once we understand more about food and how it works together, then food doesn't have to make us feel guilty. We can use food to serve us in both our mind and our body. And so what we teach women is that your body's actually been trying to be your best friend for years. So many of us think our bodies are just our enemy and it's working against us. But what women especially don't realize is that the more and more we put our body at a deficit, the more we are counting calories or avoiding carbs or fasting or doing any of these things that actually deprive us, our body is trying to adjust and trying to be our best friend. And it does that by slowing down our metabolism. Our body's whole entire goal is to balance its blood sugar. And that's what we focus on. And it will do it in one of two ways, either through food or on its own. And when it tries to balance its blood sugar through food, it flourishes. Think about a time you've been really, really hungry, like hangry. I always joke. I'm like, what do you run for? So Jeremy, like if you're really hungry, what do you run for in the pantry?
The first thing that I see.
Yeah, but if
Um,
it's like lean chicken
yeah.
or chips, which one are you going for?
Yeah, no, I mean, it's gonna be the quick and easy, the chips. Like, I'm gonna go for the bag of chips, bust them open, start eating.
Yes, and the reason why though is we all think it's our willpower, but it's our blood sugar being really low, and our body needs these sugars, right? And so it's not so much our willpower or a lack of control. It's our body talking to us, but we just don't know how to listen to it. And so our body can either balance its blood sugar on its own or through food. And when it has to do it on its own because we're really hungry, we put it at a deficit. It will start to pull nourishment from our muscles. And that is where we need it. We need those fat cells. We need those all those nutrients in our muscles, and we don't want to be pulling from that way. And that's how it tries to balance its blood sugar. Eventually, women will tell me I can go all day without eating, and I'm like, that's not a good thing. That's like when I like I'll say to my two teenage girls, go clean your room, and I'll like yell at them for days to clean their room, and then they don't, and I finally just go do it myself. It doesn't mean I'm okay with it. It just means I'm doing it myself, and it's not cool. That's what your body does when you don't feed it correctly.
Mhm.
It stops talking to you in the way that it because it doesn't think it's going to get from you what it needs. So it goes and does it by itself. And as a result, our hormones get out of whack, our metabolism slows down, and eventually we can be eating the same things that we were eating before that we were losing weight on, and we will start gaining weight because our body's like, I don't know when this chick's going to feed me again. So I'm just going to take what I need and hold on to it. And I'm going to hold on to it like a squirrel, kind of holding nuts for the winter. And so instead, if we're fueling our body correctly by eating the right nutrients in the right portions all day long, we don't track calories. We don't have to track our food. We don't count our food for the day. None of that. When we know what we're eating, we know we need to eat a protein, fat, and carb at the same time every 3 to 4 hours. It's amazing how our body's like, hey, I know this chick's going to feed me what I need when I need it. So I'm going to take what I need and burn what I don't. And we turn into, honestly, a fat burning machine. But at the same time, our blood sugar is stabilized, which means our hormones are balanced. We have more energy. We sleep better. And of course, if we can eat as healthy as possible for that, that's key. But the thing is, there's food that serves our soul. And we can't always eat healthy. And we can't feel guilty about that. So I often will say to women, what do you think is more correct, eating just an apple or eating like pizza with chicken? And in all reality, an apple is just going to spike our blood sugar, which causes us to store fat and we'll be hungry very quickly. And it might be healthier, but a pizza with chicken has protein, fat, and carb. And we need all three of those. And so while that's not healthier, it is correct. And so I can eat when I don't want to be healthy. When I want to have a soul filling meal, I can still be on point and keep my blood sugar balanced and crush my goals. And so when women realize we don't need food to make us feel guilty, I can eat all day long. I don't have to deprive myself. And this is how our babies eat when we have them, right? So whether you're like a baby, an infant, whether you're 2 or 92, this is how we should be eating. And it's amazing how much progress we make. Literally 100% of my clients see incredible results because this is what I say every body needs. This is like our body's love language. So when I learned this, Jeremy, I was like, I have to teach this to everyone because every woman I know thinks we have to count calories, deprive ourselves, and that beauty hurts. And it doesn't have to be like that.
Yeah, that's absolutely amazing. We've just become so accustomed to, the junk food or like you said, just going for the first thing that we see because we're hungry or whatever.
Yeah. Or eating nothing, thinking it's like a badge of honor because we went all day without eating.
It's wild because your body, like you said, is reacting to that, and you might not pick up on it. You might not you realize that you're sluggish and you're slow and you're not thinking clearly and you're making
Yeah.
mistakes because of the way that you're eating throughout the day. And people don't sit and think about this. And I feel like that's why it's an important topic. And I would say, even especially the people who are listening to this podcast, people who are working from home and they
Mhm.
are have quick access to the fridge, but they're super busy because they're working on their business and they're recording courses and making podcasts. And it's even me today, I have a whole slew of podcast interviews that I have to do. And I'm already, it's getting around lunchtime and I'm starting to think to myself, what can I make real quick? What can I go in and grab and eat, and it could affect the rest of my day. And so I feel like this is a super important topic to talk about.
Yeah. I mean, I think for everybody, especially us entrepreneurs who I can work, 29 hours a day. And we are a refuel as you go machine. And to think that we should go all day long without eating, it just doesn't make sense. We wouldn't do that to our cars, but we do that to ourselves. So we eat one of three ways. We have amazing recipes. And for years and years, now we've been compiling these incredibly, we call them PFC balanced recipes that our kids love and that are super, super easy. But I also hate meal prep. I don't spend hours on a Sunday. That's the day I don't work. And that's the last thing I want to be doing. So we have grab and go. So I can, as long as I have the right proteins, fats, and carbs in my fridge, I can piece a very quick meal together and eat it in 30 seconds. And so my husband is now working from home and I work from home. And we literally are just putting together our quick meals. My kids can do that. They're in school and they'll do their grab and go PFC meals and eat them really quickly. And then I also really believe in having a high quality meal replacement, like a protein shake or a protein bar. If I eat 5 to 6 meals a day, if I can make one of them a protein shake or a protein bar, then I can do that in the car while I'm driving. I can do that. I just had a protein shake before you and I met, knowing that I can fuel my body quickly without having to spend more time trying to figure it out. And your body reacts. Your body will start to feel hungry in 3 to 4 hours. That's how you know your metabolism is boosting. And I work with women and men from 35 to 55. I mean, all ages need this, right? But we're the ones that are raising kids. We're super busy. We're working full time and we think we don't have time to focus on ourselves. But yeah, I'm like, you guys, this is simple. It's sustainable. It is so satisfying and it couldn't be more important. We have to raise our kids so that they understand that we don't need to put ourselves at a deficit, that our value is not in the scale, but it is getting to our optimal health. When we get to our optimal health, we will get to our optimal weight. And getting to our optimal health means fueling our body correctly. And if you can do it in some really simple ways, then there are no excuses at all, especially if you can have pizza with chicken sometimes.
Yeah, who doesn't like that?
I mean, ice cream is just a fat and a carb. We have to stop looking at it like it's got so much power. And so sometimes we'll be like, I'll be like, all right, we're going out for ice cream if it's summertime or whatever. And we'll all have some like turkey or something first. And then we'll go have some ice cream.
Are you struggling to create your first online course? Do you have an idea for a course topic but don't know how to get started? It can be hard trying to figure out everything that goes into course creation. How do you outline your course? How do you set up the technology to create the content? How do you publish it so that you can begin helping others and making money immediately? We know it can be difficult for first-time course creators. That is why we have designed the Start Your First Course Challenge. Our goal is to help you get that online course published within a couple of weeks. That means that you can get your digital product to market without wasting a bunch of time. We will show you how with the easiest methods possible that we have learned and crafted over the years. You'll learn how to choose a topic, outline your course, script what you want to say, and then record the material. After that, you'll discover how to set up the platform and publish it, all with a simple system that's guaranteed to get you results fast. Beat your procrastination by taking action today. Go to startyourfirstcourse.com now to sign up. That's startyourfirstcourse.com. See you in the challenge. Let's transition into the online course stuff now. So we were talking a little bit beforehand, and I have a couple notes here, and I wanted to hear from you. What has been some of the major things that have really shown you success in the online course world? When you started creating online courses and started producing, what were some of the major key factors for your success?
Well, one of the things is that as an educator myself and as somebody that you wrote online courses for education, I knew I had this philosophy. If I keep saying it over and over again, I have to record it. I have to record it so that I don't have to keep teaching it over and over. And that's when I realized, okay, I have a course and a program here. And so when I put together my course, I will say, like, to me, it's like you have to fall down and fail in order to figure out what doesn't work. I feel like you can't be happy until you know what sadness is. And that has been my journey for sure. I've tried different platforms. I've try different marketing techniques. But what I will say, my number one thing that I have absolutely seen is so important is that 1% progress. I say that to my nutrition clients. I don't want anybody losing 50 pounds in a month. That's not healthy. We do talk a lot about done is better than perfect. And I agree with that. But I will also say that it is not about perfection. It is about consistency. And so when you show up consistently, you build trust. We do that with our bodies and we do that with our clients. So I always talk about like a relationship has to be built on trust, whether it's with your body or with a client or a person that you know. And so trust is built with positive interactions consistently over time. That's it. And so when we do that for our bodies will end up doing the things that we always wanted those diets to do, but they didn't. And we will build a business as well. But it has to be positive interactions consistently over time. So I have just consistently showed up. And it would be day after day where I just kept doing the things I said I would do. It was around that integrity. And people start listening and people start being able to tune in. And so that was the first thing, right? And it was the same thing that I teach my clients around that. But then it was also knowing my value. I say this to women constantly who don't want to necessarily or don't think that they're worth the investment in their health. They think they can figure it out on their own. They don't think hiring a coach is something that they need to be doing or should be doing. And I say, know your value. And so I have that sign behind my desk in my office that says, know your value. We have t-shirts made like that because I need women to understand their value, but I also need to remember my value. And what I teach and how I do it is valuable. And so when I was charging a very little amount for my courses, I devalued myself. And I think spending a couple $100s on my program, women struggle to do. But what was incredible as I was mentored and coached into a high ticket program, a high ticket course, we started selling a lot more of those because women had to put skin in the game and had to know their value. But also, I was seen as so much more of a credible source. I just thought charging a lower amount would allow more people to join my program. But what it actually did was, in some ways, cheapen it. But also, if you spend a few $100s on something like this, we can go spend a couple $100s on a weekend out with our girlfriends or a night out with our girlfriends and then forget about it. And if we do that in a nutrition course or any sort of a program, we won't stick with it. And so knowing our value, I think, was really important. So once I transitioned into a high ticket course and program, that was a huge game changer. Now, I do have some lower priced options. I always say wherever you are on your journey, there's a place for you at Disruptive Nutrition. But I know that what I can offer is incredible and life changing. And these women need to know that they're worth it. So that was a huge piece for me as well.
Yeah, that's really awesome. First, the consistency because it is really difficult, especially when you're starting out, to keep that consistency going through the tough times. When
Mhm.
you first start out and you're excited about something like when you first started learning about nutrition and you're really excited about this. Oh, this is cool. I'm seeing a change. I'm feeling better. I want to teach people and I want to go help out. And you start down that road. You have that honeymoon phase where it's really exciting in the beginning, but then
Mhm.
life kicks in and things start getting in the way, and you start having these roadblocks, and the consistency kind of drifts off a little bit because it becomes a little more difficult and you have to really stick with it. So those instances can be tough. I mean, for me, for others, personally, I know that, there are times where I don't have that consistency, and I know I should be constantly out there. But how do you personally get through those tough times? How do you stay consistent when life is hammering you down?
So this is exactly what I teach my clients too in nutrition because it's the same exact story, right? Doing something the rest of our lives in nutrition, people think they want it, but then life kicks in and it's hard. So two things. One is I always have a really strong morning time and nighttime routine. I have a morning time routine, a nighttime routine. I look at my list that is forever long. I realize I am not going to get it all done. I can't go to the gym and do all my workouts for the year in one day. Right. So I am not going to go and try to do my entire to-do list in a day either. And so I look at my week, I look at my to-do list, look at my week, plan it out, kind of a general idea of what I'm going to do each day. And then each morning and each night, I like literally just time block stuff into my calendar. And I do that every day. That showing up for myself, even if it's 5 minutes, holds me accountable. But then the other thing that I do is I have so much to teach. I have so much I want to share. This concept that I teach requires an education. I can get myself into like, I have to teach this and this and this. So I show up consistently. Content was a big thing for me, right? Always coming up with new content and putting it out there. So I have one piece of content. I plan it out well in advance. I have my show on my free Facebook group that we transition and repurpose into my podcast, which then we repurpose into a blog and we repurpose into our posts and allow that one piece of content, which is planned, for a couple months in advance to repurpose itself over and over again. So that has been a really big part of me not getting overwhelmed and then wanting to just not do it. Because I can teach one concept a week and then reteach it over and over again. And what I found was that my followers were less overwhelmed. They couldn't keep up with my content that I felt like I had to keep up with. But when I can do one thing and show it in a bunch of different ways throughout the week, that changes everything and people start to actually learn.
Yeah, I like that. That's really cool. I'm a big fan of repurposing content, and this is a really great strategy, like you said, because instead of having to focus on 10 or 20 different pieces of content or ideas, you have one strong concept that you're teaching for that week and you're showing it in different ways. And sometimes it takes us multiple times to understand something. You might have to see it from different angles, or someone says it and it doesn't make sense, but then you see it on a graphic or you see it in a video and then you say, oh yeah, okay, this is what they're talking about. So I think that's
Yeah.
really cool.
And every time I talk about it, I evolve as well. And so 6 months down the road, if I'm talking about it again, it doesn't mean I'm saying it the same thing in the same way. But the other thing that I do is I have 12 months in a year. So I just pick a theme for each month. And now it's only 12 topics. And then I break those down into four, right? And one a week. And so then that has just freed up that feeling of overwhelm when it comes to content creation. And that's how I can show up consistently because it's not such a big deal anymore.
Awesome. Very cool.
Mhm,
And then the
mhm,
second point that you made here was about knowing your value
mhm.
and the idea of having high ticket, a higher price tier for people who want to take that step. I learned this myself, through my own coach, which is very high ticket, and was able to learn a lot more for a couple different reasons. One, for the mere fact that just when you invest more in yourself, you are much more willing to put in the hard work. So
Mhm.
when I, I've taken many courses that are low ticket that I never finished or didn't even open just because I bought them because they were a deal. But when I invested that money, it really tugged on me emotionally, and in doing so, I was a much better student. I made sure that I finished the material. I was going through everything and I wanted to see it to completion. I feel like from a student standpoint, you are going to have a much better student, a much better client, because they are more invested into that program when into that course that you're teaching. And then from your standpoint of knowing your value, knowing your worth, it takes time to put this information together. You are dedicating a big portion of your life. I'm sure just by talking to you, you're the type of person that works on this all day and all night and is thinking about
Mhm.
this and putting that material together. And you have to know your worth. You can't be selling yourself short. And then the other part of that too is having that high ticket system gives you more money to reinvest into the company. It gives you the
Right.
ability to help people at a much larger scale, because now you can invest in more education or more aspects of the business. Do you agree with that?
Oh my gosh. When you actually do the numbers and you realize how many people you need to bring in at a couple $100s, it's not even a valuable investment because you can't go then and reinvest. That's a lot of people you got to bring in to make any sort of amount of money. I'm a teacher, I'm an educator at heart. I never did anything I did for the money. But I know that I need that influx of cash to be able to continue to make the experience for my clients better and better and better. And now, because of that, we have reinvested in our technology. We have reinvested in the way that we show up for our clients so that their experience gets better and better. And they have lifetime access to our program and to our membership group. And that is something that they really appreciate because they grow with us, but they have a partner for life. And I couldn't have been able to do those types of things if I didn't have the investment in there to be able to put that in without getting investors. So I could bring in less people, serve them more, bring in more money, and then be able to then serve more and more people as I'm able to reinvest. And that was really my whole goal. So me trying to charge less and devaluing myself, devaluing them because they weren't going to commit, having less success meant I was going to work harder and harder for less money. Now, because everybody sees such success, because we're able to reinvest, more and more people, even though we're charging more, are seeing success. And that's what's really it's all about.
That's amazing. I love that. That's really cool, and I couldn't have said it any better. So let's talk about the different aspects of your business. So you mentioned that you have, the higher ticket stuff, and then you
Mhm.
mentioned that there are different price points at different pieces of your business that people can come in at. So what are the
Yep.
different types of revenue streams that your business is using? And do you have multiple revenue streams, and how does that look for your particular business?
Yeah, and I will say that I think that this has been the biggest game changer for me to be able to stay in this, because my high ticket program. Once I started doing that, yes, that brought in cash and things like that, but it also is reliant on getting new clients all the time, and the act of or the stress, right, as being a business owner of knowing, okay, we did okay this month. Next month's a whole new month, and we got to bring in more clients. We got to bring in more clients. There's a lot there. So, yes, I'm always wanting to bring in new clients. I want to be able to help more and more people and continue to grow my company. And that is part of what we do. So, we have online courses that are coaching programs for women and for men at a variety of price points, depending on how much support they need and what their goals are and what they feel like they can do. And they're all, embedded into online courses. And that's one aspect of it, but it requires me to get new clients all the time. So I also have other revenue streams that doesn't rely on new clients. We have our membership group. It's a back-end membership. You can't join our membership unless you have joined our program. And that brings in revenue every single month, even if I don't have new clients. I will say we also have a front end membership, which is just our recipe subscription. It's a lower price. There's no support in there, but they do get our recipes. So having both of those, a back end membership and a front end subscription, has given us the chance to say, okay, like we had 1 month where our ads broke, like things just didn't work. And if you've ever been doing, your Facebook ads and Instagram and ads on all that, it can be fickle. And so we had 1 month, things did not go well in getting new clients, but we have a membership group that allows us to feel like, okay, even if that doesn't happen, we can still pay the bills. And so it alleviates a huge stress factor. And then we have product lines that we endorse and that we promote. And I take that very, very seriously. But when my clients love the products that I endorse, and as a nutrition coach, people rely on me to tell them the types of supplements and products to get. Because if I don't, they're going to go out and buy whatever garbage is on the shelves, and that's going to derail their progress. And so, by having a product line that I endorse and that I believe wholeheartedly in as a partnership, I am again getting residual sales. And that month where my ads broke, we brought in more on product sales than we had even in our goal for new client acquisition. And so by having multiple streams of incomes where you have a product or that you affiliate with, as well as a membership, and then an online course that has new clients coming in, it's like this trifecta that I feel like is hard to fail then. I mean, I had to show up consistently to get there, but now that that's happening, it's almost like you're picking up breadcrumbs as you go. I get a new client and then they're going to purchase the products that I suggest and they're going to stay in the membership group because I offer value in there. And they know that their value is, important, that they can continue to invest in themselves because they're going to buy the stuff anyway. And our membership group is a pretty low price considering what they get, but it's keeping them in the game. And as we bring in new clients, we know we're going to continue to have this residual income come in for each new client. So our client value is pretty high because we keep them for a long time and they continue to purchase, let's say, even if they don't stay in the membership. So that's been just a really big game changer. I think having an online course is super important, but I feel like it's only part of the puzzle that's made us successful.
Yeah, that's awesome. I like that a lot. Having those multiple revenue streams is something that even today that I'm working on myself, building out my own products, but then also being an affiliate for other
Hmm.
companies and promoting their products too. Because, like you said, any piece of that can falter or fail. Let's say you're on YouTube and you're relying on YouTube ad revenue. Well, if YouTube bans you or kicks you or shuts down your channel, you're left with nothing. But if you have multiple revenue streams as you're talking about, you have a chance to, if one thing goes down, you still have these other revenue streams coming in that isn't going to completely derail your business. I wanted to ask you about that membership. So if you
Hmm.
have your main product and then you have your membership, what's the differentiation between the two? What do people get from the membership extra or in tandem with the other products?
Depending on which kind of level they enter at, they can get lifetime membership, or they can have 3 month membership, 6 months, or 6 weeks, and that's included in the price of the course. And then after that, they're automatically enrolled in the monthly membership fee. And they get a discounted rate of our membership group if they stay in. If they leave and they want to come back, they can, but then they have to pay a higher price. So we automatically enroll them after their period ends. That's included in the course.
Okay, gotcha. Very cool. That makes sense.
Hmm.
And then on the product side, the things that you're endorsing,
Hmm.
so these are third party products, not your own products that you are recommending. Is this through an affiliate system or is it like a sponsorship or how does that look?
Yep. And this is what I work with health pros on all the time. I'm like, if you are not associated with a product line, you're crazy because people are going to, whether you're a gym owner or a physical therapist, a chiropractor, whatever it is, people trust you, and want to know what you endorse. So I very much believe a no program should be based on products, but products can enhance the program. And I work with a product line that's supplements, and they care very much about working with health pros. And it's a professional line that is also one where I have a seat at the table that I can talk through and share and give my opinions on. And so it's actually a direct sales company formatted for me and health pros in a way where I can easily I have a voice at the table, but also I can be supporting other health pros who are interested in doing something like this or being in part of a product line where I can support them and then I can bring in additional income for myself as well based on their success. And I think for health pros, we're a tight knit community of people. There's a product line that you love and that you feel very strongly about, I have a very high standard for anything that I promote. But by being in a direct sales kind of a model, I then can support other health pros to be able to affiliate themselves with the product line. And I can benefit from that as well. So it's not just about product sales, but I have a whole team of health pros around the world that are endorsing this product line as well. And I am earning a really amazing income from that. So for me, that has been just such a blessing and an important aspect because now we get to be on the same team. Now we get to work together, benefit each other, and each one of us gets to grow in our own businesses as well.
I love it. This is really cool because and these companies who have these products want to get the word out to more people. And so they will be willing to work with you if you just take the time to reach out to them and grow these partnerships with them.
If you're a professional, they want to work with you, and if you have a brand and a course and a program and a following, they're like, yes, we want to do this with you. And then other people that are coming up the ranks that want to do what you're doing want to be mentored by you. So I'm able to mentor these other health pros to do what I've done, and they don't have to pay me because they're making an income through their product line. I can benefit from some of that as well. And so it's just an amazing relationship that allows us to continue to prosper without me having to like charge people to coach them in their own businesses.
Right, very good. So if you're listening to this podcast, think about some products that you use. So if you're,
Mhm.
teaching guitar or something like that, what are some things guitars need? Strings or picks or, tuners. Or if you're teaching graphic design, maybe you can promote tablets or, drawing material or anything like that. So this is really cool. It's been a pleasure having you on the show today. I think we got to talk about a lot of really great things,
Yeah.
including your health and the business side and entrepreneur side of how your business has grown so well. Carrie, I really appreciate your time today. And if people want to find out more about your company and the things that you offer, where can they go online to do that?
Yeah, so we're Disruptive Nutrition. So you could find Disruptive Nutrition on Instagram at Disruptive Nutrition. My Facebook is Disruptive Nutrition, and our website is disruptivenutrition.com. You can get in touch with me right there in my team under Contact Us. We would love to be able to connect either through your health or, as an entrepreneur, especially health pros, on how we're doing this and how we can work together. It's a real huge passion of mine.
Perfect. Very cool. Well, I'll make sure that I link all that up in the show notes. And thank you for the time today, your advice, your wisdom. I think you're doing some really great things. You've created a great overall arching business. And I just hope you continue to see massive success in the future.
I just got to show up consistently, right, Jeremy?
Right. Thank you. Have a good day.
Thank you. Bye bye.
Thank you so much for joining us today, Carrie. You can find out more about her and her business by visiting disruptivenutrition.com. Or you can get the show notes of this episode along with links and resources by visiting onlinecourseigniter.com/63. Take care of yourself, everyone out there, and we will see you soon. Thank you for tuning in to the Online Course Igniter podcast. Make sure you subscribe wherever you're listening so that you don't miss an episode. If you would like to learn more marketing strategies and how to sell your online course, then also check out our free community where we share tips, tricks, and tutorials at onlinecourseigniter.com/community.